Hello and welcome back to Retfurb. So on today's video I've got something a little bit different than what I normally do. So most of the time obviously I do bikes, stereos, some retro computer stuff, but mainly it's bikes and stereos with some other retro stuff involved. And today I've got this Supercup football which I saw for sale and it needed a bit of work doing to it, so I thought it'd be an ideal little refurb to do. Now when I was younger my friend had one of these and we used to play it quite a lot, so when I saw it I thought, oh brilliant, I can have a look at that and see if I can get it working. So it's an electronic football game made by Tomy. As you can see it's pretty smart looking, to be honest. There are some bits of the decals missing on both sides, so I'm going to renew all them, and a lot of the players are just they're just like a generic pinky colour, so I'm going to be modifying them and repainting them so they're blue and red. You can see the original, which is coloured blue, and then also the red. So yeah, it's a pretty nice little system. It doesn't work at the moment. There's a problem inside the battery tray where I think what it's had at some point, it's had batteries in there which have corroded. They've worn away the spring, so that needs to be sorted out. So I'm hoping that's all it is with regards to getting it to work. There are some spare balls inside and there's some other spare little players, but most of them are broke, to be honest. So yeah, let's get straight into it and see if we can get it working and get it restored back to its former glory. So getting straight into it, this is obviously just a closer up look. And you can see the condition overall is pretty good, to be fair. So opening up the battery tray, the first thing I'm going to do is just put some battery in, and I'm just going to bridge it with some metal, some tin foil I'm just going to put in there, and then it'll just bridge it, and hopefully then we can just check to see whether it's working okay, and that is all that's stopping it from working basically. So let's just do a quick demo. So you can see straight away, luckily that's all it is, and you can see it's basically working there. Now I'm just going to go through and just test each one, make sure they're working okay. And at this point I've just found that this one gets jammed when it gets to the end, so we need to open that up and have a look inside and see what the reason is behind that. But all the others seem to be working fine, they're spinning okay, they're going all the way up and down the tracks. It's just that one. And now just checking the ball comes out on the throw-ins and the corners. And you can see the mechanism worked all okay for that, so there's no issues there. So on the whole, the mechanism seems pretty good. So now we can just get inside, strip it all down, remove the players, and see if we can find out what's wrong with that one player that's not moving correctly when it gets to the end of the track. So it's pretty straightforward really to get inside. There's one screw that's on top, which is in the little compartment where the spares go, and then there's screws underneath that just need to be removed, and these are all just Phillips head crosshead screws, and then you can flip it back over, remove the top section. And then the one last screw there, and then we can lift the lid off and just remove this player first before you do that. And then the knobs need to come off, the rubber parts of the knobs. So you can see it's pretty straightforward to strip out and get inside. So now again I'm just going to put the batteries back in and just do another test and just see if we can work out what's going on with that track. So you can see there's various different runners. And here's a close-up just showing it. And you can see here basically what it's doing is it's running to the end of the track and going slightly too far. So whether it's just worn over the years and it's just gone slightly too far, there's something's gone away and stopping it from going too far, the track's broke at the end, which it doesn't actually look like it is. So basically what I'm going to do, I've got a small piece of rubber that will fit in to this rail, and I'm just going to push that in and just use it as almost like a small bumper, so when it hits it, it doesn't go too far on the track. Obviously I want to make sure it goes as far enough that the game works okay in that part, and also not impede in any other operation of any other parts. Originally when I first put it in, you can see it was just hitting this other part, so I had to push it down slightly, and then I can, make sure that it's adjusted correctly for the part that wasn't working right in the first place. So I'm just going to push that down a little bit more just to get it out of the way. So it's pretty, you know, straightforward inside. It's quite a, I say, a basic operation. There's a lot of cogs and movements, but when you look at it, you can see, you know, the reasons behind each bit and how they work, and it's actually quite a simple but good way of doing it. You know, they've obviously thought it out, and they, you know, it really well thought out. So now just a little bit more adjustment on the rubber, and then as soon as that rubber's in place, I can just put a little bit of super glue on there, which will just hold it, and then obviously it'll prevent it from moving, and hopefully that will then sort it out and shouldn't get the issue again. Just put in a little bit of super glue just to hold it in place. And a little bit of activator just to make that super glue go off quicker. And now just doing another test just to make sure it's okay. And you can see every time now it's perfect. So now I'm just going to go around just cleaning off some of the old grease, just going over all the faces. And just picking out any bits of dirt and dust and any hair or anything like that that's gone in over the years. Obviously this being a 1989 toy, you will get a fair bit of dust and stuff that's gone in there. This one, like I say, was pretty clean, to be fair. And now I'm going to sort out this connection for the battery. So I'm just going to get the soldering iron out and just desolder the original connection. And then just remove the broken part from underneath. So this was in two parts, and there's obviously another part that's missing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make up my own piece. I've got some old metal. This is actually cut off a body panel on a vehicle. So I'm just going to cut this into shape and size, just trimming it down, and then I'll solder the wire back onto it. So this is, again, a pretty straightforward, you know, if you can do soldering and you've got some sort of spare bits of metal around, or purchasing something which is similar, just a thin piece of metal, then you can just shape it easily enough. I've actually got some tin snips here, which obviously I needed to cut the metal, but you can use other ways of doing it if you haven't got that. It's just gradually shaping it down. Obviously I'm going more careful than taking too much off and then going too far of it, so I'm just taking a little bit off at a time. And then just checking it each time. And now just bending that bottom tab in place. And just checking that's okay, because this part will actually go inside where it's soldered on. So I just need to cut that slightly smaller. So there's a bit more of a smaller tab which folds then inside of the actual toy. And then that part will be the bit that gets soldered onto. So that's all looking pretty good now. I just need to trim an excess off the top and then just prep this area ready to have a bit of solder put on it. And now I'm just prepping that area as well also to be soldered, so I can solder on a small spring for the battery. Now I don't know originally if they had a spring on there or whether it was just a metal tab which was almost like a spring, if that makes sense. But I'm going to solder a spring on there. I had a spare part off of another electric component, so I just remove that and just solder it straight on here. So you can see that I'm not exactly doing this the easy way. I've got a set of grips. I'm trying to hold this in place as I'm doing it. I keep saying I need to get one of these sort of helping hand tools, and I keep forgetting to do it, so I definitely need to get one ordered. It makes it so much easier. Now just doing that final check, and you can see that it's all fitting all okay, so I'm just going to press that in place now so it's nice and snug fit in there. And yeah, as you can see, the battery's fitting really well. Yeah, that's perfect. So now I'm just going to solder that wire back on the small tab. Just making sure that I get a good connection there. And then just checking to make sure that's all okay. And as you can see, it's perfect, there's no issues. So now I'm just going to put a small amount of grease all around all the connections where I removed it previously. just all the moving parts and the sliding parts. Try not to put too much on there. I'm only putting a small amount on each one, and if I do put too much on, I'll just wipe it off with a little bit of cloth. And now the lid can go back on. And just checking it's all working all okay. So the only thing I found with this one is the grass, the artificial grass that's on top. It's a little bit patchy in places, but I was a bit reluctant. I was thinking about getting some dye and putting it on it, but I was a bit reluctant that I could potentially ruin it. So all I did is just go around. I just kept wetting my finger, just going around and cleaning off any of the dust and stuff. But you can see it's a little bit patchy. It's not really bad. You know, overall it's pretty good. It almost adds to a bit of an effect to it, to be honest. Makes it look like worn grass, so it's not the end of the world. But if anyone has any suggestions of what to do with it, you know, maybe it's just simple as putting some dye on there and just being careful around all the lines and everything on the pitch, then, you know, maybe that's the best way to go. If not, maybe it's just best to leave it. So as you can see, I've taken the goals off just to go around and clean it up. I'm just putting the knobs back on. The goals are, well, one of them was good, came off all okay, and that one can go straight back in. The other goal had one of the legs which was broken on it, so I'm just going to super glue that back in place, and that should hold that. Otherwise, you know, they were all okay. The goalkeepers and everything are all okay, and the mechanism with them are all good. And just carefully putting that back in place. Now the glue did hold this really well. I know sometimes super glue is not brilliant for everything, but it did hold it pretty well. So now I'm going to just remove these old decals. I'm trying to be as careful as I can with this because I want to try and replicate them as best I can. I need the originals to do that. So now, just going away from the decals, I'm now going to be painting the men. So the process of this is pretty simple, to be honest. What I'm going to do first, I've just got an old container. I've just put some masking tape on it with sticky side up, and I'm just sticking the men down on there, and I'm just going to dust that with some primer. So I'm just going to use some normal standard aerosol primer on them, and just making sure before I do so they're stuck okay. Now this is prime, so I've just dusted over the primer just carefully. It just gives it a good base for the colour. And then for the red ones, I had some red aerosol, which I just painted them all red. Now you could do that exactly the same with the blues, but I didn't have any, so I painted them all red, and now I'm going to go over with the paint. Now this is just acrylic paint, which is Vallejo or Vallejo. I don't know how you pronounce it, but that's what I've got. It's a pretty good paint, to be honest. It's good for like modelling, and yeah, this is ideal for doing this. So just need to go around with a real tiny brush and just carefully paint all the parts, trying to make it look as original as possible, just painting them all in the original colours. I know there are quite a few out there that do them custom and put custom kits and everything like that on there, which I was tempted to do, but I thought at this point I'm just going to do them the original colour and yeah, just fit them in like that, and then I can change them in the future if I need to. Obviously this is a bit time consuming going around doing this. It makes it easier with the red because I've just painted them all red and just going around now just doing the black part of the hair and did all the colour, and yeah, it makes it a lot quicker. When I did the blue, I had to paint the blue and then I had to do the hair, which took it a bit longer. But now, as you can see, I've cleaned up the stadium, and now I'm just going around, and you can see I've made these decals up from scratch, printed them on vinyl, and they're laminated so they'll last pretty well. Obviously it's not going to be out in the sunlight for long periods of time, so they'll last a long time like the originals, probably longer to be honest. And now I'm just fitting them carefully onto the surface. And just working my way around doing all of them. It makes a hell of a difference just doing this. With those decals that were missing, it made it look quite tatty. So now doing this, it's definitely brought it back to life more. And the players, again, now they've all been painted up, you can see just how good they look. They're not exactly the same colour tone, but they're pretty close. And that's it, all done. And as you can see, it's really good. Just doing a quick demo of it now, working. Just had my wife trying to help me as I was recording it. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's definitely brought this back to life. and hopefully I've done it justice. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video, it's really appreciated. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.